Let's begin with a structural overview. Welcome to another lecture. Today we consider Chris Johnson, the American football running back, whose speed, if you will, bent defensive geometry and reoriented how teams thought about explosiveness. I am Alexei. We will proceed with clarity, precision, and perhaps a small amount of dry humor, which is to say, a standard Tuesday.
Hi, I'm Priyanka. I'm excited and a little in awe because CJ2K is one of those names that even casual fans know. So, yeah, moving on. We're going to look at speed, strategy, and health.
To frame our discussion, it's important to understand the basic terms. A running back in American football is, in simpler terms, the ball carrier who navigates through designed gaps and improvised creases. Chris Johnson functioned as a sprinter embedded in a tactical system, much like placing a world-class 100-meter specialist into a chessboard of blockers and tacklers. He was renowned for acceleration and cutback vision, especially in outside zone and stretch concepts. That is to say, the ball is a vector, and the defense a dynamic constraint set.
So, I guess we can start by thinking about this very simply. If he is a sprinter in pads, what else matters besides raw speed? Like, what allowed him to turn that speed into real yards and points?
Fundamentally, speed without timing is merely a measurement. Johnson paired a 4.24-second 40-yard dash with decisional timing, backside cut recognition, and the ability to maintain velocity through contact windows. As a receiver, he extended his value on screens and checkdowns, which inflated yards from scrimmage. Career context. Born in Orlando in 1985. Starred at East Carolina University as a runner and returner. Drafted 24th overall by the Tennessee Titans in 2008. 3 Pro Bowls to start his career. Later stints with the New York Jets and Arizona Cardinals. He acquired 2 monikers of note. First as the Dash in the Titans' Smash and Dash, and later, after 2006 rushing yards in 2009, as CJ2K.
I think the next thing we should talk about is why this matters. Isn't it interesting how one athlete can shift evaluation? Teams used to, maybe, underweight pure speed at running back. But with Johnson, you see how versatility and big plays change games quickly.
Indeed, we observed that Johnson's 2-star recruiting label in high school coexisted with elite track times, and later a transformational NFL combine. In 2008, he tied the electronically timed record in the 40 at 4.24 seconds, which materially elevated his draft stock. This is a case study in measurement-altering priors. Scouts recalibrated, not merely on straight-line speed, but on the projected yield of explosive plays in modern spread alignments. On basic facts, Christopher Dewan Johnson, nicknamed CJ2K, after that 2,006-yard rushing season in 2009. NFL Offensive Player of the Year that same year. An NFL single-season record 2,509 yards from scrimmage. He is the only player with 6 rushing touchdowns of 80 or more yards. Uniquely, in one 2009 game against Houston, he recorded touchdowns of 57 rushing, 69 receiving, and 91 rushing. And in 2012, a 94-yard touchdown run, the second longest in Monday Night Football history.
Building on that, chronologically, he was a top high school sprinter in Florida, finishing second in the 100 meters to Walter Dix. At East Carolina, he became a 3-phase threat and set an NCAA FBS single-game record with 408 all-purpose yards in the 2007 Hawaii Bowl. In 2008, he went 24th overall to Tennessee. As a rookie, he had 1,228 rushing yards while sharing with Lendell White in Smash and Dash. Then, 2009 happened, with 2,006 rushing yards and 11 straight 100-yard games to close the season. Later, there was the 2011 holdout and a record running back contract. In 2012, he added more 80-plus yard touchdowns, including that 94-yard run on Monday night. He joined the Jets in 2014. With Arizona in 2015, he had a resurgence until a fractured tibia. In 2016, David Johnson's emergence and injury limited him. He retired in 2018 and signed a one-day contract to retire as a Titan in 2019. He finished his degree in 2020, entered the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame in 2023, and the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in 2024. The formal diagnosis of ALS came in 2025 and was publicly announced in 2026.
Speaking of personal fascinations, I admit a fondness for the mathematical symmetry. Johnson's outside zone runs resemble optimization problems, where the runner samples gradients along a moving frontier of blockers. The decision to cut back is a local maximum search, executed at human sprinting speed. It is to some extent calculus in cleats. This brings us to three larger questions. The three we will analyze are as follows. First, how did the 2009 season influence perceptions of running backs? Second, a counterfactual. What if the 2015 injury had not occurred? Third, what does his ALS diagnosis imply for research on athlete health? On the first, Johnson's 2009 is often placed among the greatest single seasons by a running back. 2,006 rushing yards on 5.6 per carry, 2,509 yards from scrimmage, Offensive Player of the Year, and an extended string of 100-yard games. Analysts debate the ranking, invoking era adjustments, blocking quality, and touchdown totals. Nevertheless, it set explicit benchmarks for explosive efficiency under heavy volume. Teams could no longer dismiss the possibility that a speed-based profile could handle feature-back workload while maintaining breakaway rate.
I'm curious about the practical consequences. How did that season change NFL team strategies, like roster building and play design?
We can infer several shifts. Scouting placed more premium on verified speed plus receiving competence, pushing certain prospects with track pedigrees higher on boards. Schematically, coordinators leaned into stretch and outside zone to create horizontal stress, then paired this with screen packages that weaponized a back's acceleration in space. Analytically, front offices increased the weight on explosive play rates, recognizing that a single 50-yard gain can substitute for 3 or 4 successful but modest runs. Paradoxically, this also accelerated the committee trend, as teams sought specialized roles to preserve explosiveness. Johnson's 2011 contract, the then record at running back, intensified league-wide debate about positional valuation under wear and tear risk. Let's transition to another aspect, the counterfactual of 2015. In Arizona, Johnson signed a short-term deal, seized the early season role, and by late October he had marquee games such as 122 yards against Baltimore. Before his late November fracture, he had 814 rushing yards on 196 carries and was tracking among the league's top rushers. Assume health. Projecting his per-game pace conservatively over a full season indicates a plausible finish between 1,200 and 1,300 rushing yards, with commensurate screen game value. In that world, he is a strong Pro Bowl candidate, and Arizona's late-season run game calculus changes.
Can we say that such a season might have extended his career? Like, could it have added a couple more productive years, or shifted which team invested in him next?
Plausibly, yes. A completed 2015 at that pace likely yields either a renewed role in Arizona or a competitive market elsewhere as a 1A or 1B back. It might also alter 2016 usage even with David Johnson's All-Pro emergence, perhaps via defined early down packages. More broadly, a strong age 30 campaign tends to buy optionality. One more contract cycle and a gentler glide path rather than abrupt depth chart compression. However, football is path dependent, durability is stochastic, and the league's youth preference would still exert pressure. Let's shift focus to the present-day question. The formal ALS diagnosis came in 2025 and was publicly announced in 2026. ALS is a progressive neurodegenerative disease affecting motor neurons, leading to loss of muscle control. The relationship between football exposure and neurodegenerative outcomes remains an active area of inquiry. Some studies explore links between repetitive head impacts and later life neurological disease, but causality remains complex and heterogeneous. It's crucial to understand that individual cases do not settle population-level questions.
What if we thought about it like this? What research is being done right now that might help us understand or mitigate risks for players like him?
Research proceeds along several fronts. Longitudinal cohort studies track athletes over decades to model incidence and risk factors. Biomarker work, including blood-based indicators such as neurofilament light, aims to detect neuroaxonal injury signatures. Advanced imaging protocols observe structural and functional changes over time. Sensor-based measurement of head kinematics in practices and games provides exposure data. Policy experiments like rule and kickoff adjustments seek to reduce cumulative exposure. There is also emphasis on registries and brain donation programs to refine post-mortem neuropathology. In conclusion, more data, better models, and consistent longitudinal follow-up are necessary to move from correlation to mechanism, and then to prevention.
That was helpful to think through, actually. And it makes me wonder about how teams balance performance with long-term health. Not just for stars, but for everyone on the roster.
To summarize, Chris Johnson exemplifies how elite speed, matched with vision and scheme, can redefine a position. His 2009 season set records and influenced strategy. The 2015 injury invites a reasonable what-if that might have extended his late career arc. And his ALS diagnosis urges us toward deeper, longer horizon research and carefully designed safety protocols. For further study, one might examine evolving NFL health and safety frameworks and how they intersect with player development.
So I guess that kind of sums it up. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Professor.
This then completes our present analysis. Be well, and until next time.